Inside the Old Bailey, a man collapses in front of judges and barristers, and for a few seconds nobody moves because nobody can believe what they've just seen. Then the shouting starts, and the question hits like a second shot. How did a killer get this close, right here of all places? By the end, you'll understand who was targeted, how the attack was enabled inside Britain's most symbolic courtroom, and how the official story was shaped in the hours after blood hit the floor. Because when violence breaches a court, it isn't just one life on the line. It's the legitimacy of the system, the safety of public officials, and the truth that survives the cleanup. Was this murder a lone act of desperation, or a political assassination that someone quietly helped make possible? The sound is wrong for Parliament. Not debate, not laughter. A sharp crack, then another. A man staggers in the doorway. A top hat tilts, a hand reaches for the wall, as if brick can stop what just happened. It is May 1812. The corridor outside the House of Commons is crowded. Members press in after a long sitting. Clerks hurry. Messengers squeeze through, and in that crush, a single figure steps forward with a pistol. He aims at the Prime Minister. Spencer Perceval turns. There is no time for a speech, no time for a heroic shove. The shot lands. Perceval's face changes, not with anger, but with surprise, as if his body cannot accept the fact before his mind does. Someone shouts for a surgeon. Someone else grabs the attacker. Another voice calls for a chair. Go to carry Perceval toward a nearby room, but his weight goes slack. Blood seeps through cloth and into hands that had been raised, minutes earlier, to vote. And the man who fired the gun does not run. He stands there, almost calm, and gives his name. The old Eolium. In the space of a few seconds, Britain's leader is dying on the floor of his own government. The country is at war. The economy is strained. Hungry crowds already mutter at the cost of living. Now the center of power has been pierced. But why does the assassin stay? Why does he want to be caught? They carry Perceval into the Speaker's house, just inside the complex. The room is too polite for death. Soft furnishings. Candles. A kind of domestic calm that now feels obscene. Doctors arrive. They cut fabric. The bullet has done what bullets do. It has stolen time. Outside, the corridor is still packed. Members of Parliament, some pale, some furious, push against each other to see. It is a crowd of power, and it behaves like any crowd. It surges. It whispers. It wants a story it can repeat. Bellingham is held tight. Hands grip his coat. Men lean close and spit questions at his face. Was he sent by France? By the radicals? By someone inside the government itself? Bellingham answers as if he is in a shop. He is precise. He is polite. He says he acted alone. They search him. They find more pistols. They find a knife, not the frantic tools of a man who snapped. The prepared kit of a man who planned. In minutes, he is moved away, out from the corridor and toward custody. The building stone passages swallow him. Perceval, meanwhile, fades. He is not a towering figure in British history. Not a man remembered for grand phrases. He is remembered for being there, at the wrong moment, when another man decided that one death could settle a grievance. The Prime Minister dies that night. And London, for a beat, does not know how to feel. Some mourn, some shrug, some celebrate quietly, as if even happiness could be charged as treason. Because Perceval is not loved by everyone. He is the face of taxes, the face of war, the face of hunger. So when the news spreads, the question rises with it, was this murder a political explosion, or was it something smaller, something colder, something personal? To understand the moment, you have to step into Britain as it stands in 1812. The war with Napoleon drags on like a wound that will not close. Trade is disrupted, money tightens. Men come home damaged, if they come home at all, in the towns. Looms and machines change work faster than wages can keep up. In some places, the anger takes a name. The Luddites. Not fools, not mindless wreckers. Men who see their craft and their pride being turned into scrap. The government responds with harshness. Troops are used to keep order. Laws are tightened. Punishment is made public. And Spencer Perceval, as Prime Minister, becomes the voice that says no. No relief, no easy peace, no tolerance for unrest. He is not a glittering celebrity of politics. He is a lawyer's mind, careful and stubborn. He believes he is holding the country together. To his enemies, he is holding it down. So when he falls to a bullet inside Parliament, people reach for the biggest explanation. A foreign plot. A revolutionary cell. A signal that Britain is cracking. But Bellingham does not talk like a revolutionary. He does not speak in slogans. He speaks like a man who has written letters and kept copies. And that is the strange thing. He seems to believe this is not a crime. He seems to believe it is a conclusion. What kind of man walks into the House of Commons with pistols and feels justified? Quick recap. Here's what we know so far, and the one detail that still doesn't fit. The first reports say it was chaos, random, unstoppable. But one detail doesn't fit. Why was the attacker already exactly where he needed to be? And who, in a building built to prevent this, failed to stop him? Pause the murder for a second and look at the room itself, because the Old Bailey's architecture can explain how a blade reached its target, and it also points to one place nobody wants to talk about. John Bellingham is not born in a palace or a slum. He's born into that wide middle space where ambition lives. He works in trade. He travels. He learns the language of invoices and obligations. He learns what it is to be looked at, weighed and judged by strangers. He is also a man with a temper that can be held in until it can't. In business, small humiliations stack up. A delay, a refusal, a door closed in the face, the kind of thing other men swallow. Bellingham does not swallow it. Years before the shooting, he goes to Russia on business. And in Russia, something happens that he never stops talking about. He is arrested. He insists he has done nothing wrong. He insists he is the victim of a mistake, or a scheme, or a malicious accusation. He writes and writes, trying to get British officials to act. But he is in a foreign system, in a foreign jail, and his anger has nowhere to go. He is held for a long time. He comes home with a fixed idea in his head. Not only that he was wrong, but that his own government abandoned him. He wants compensation. He wants acknowledgement. He wants someone to say, in public, that he was right, and when he does not get it, his grievance hardens into something else. It becomes a mission, so the question becomes sharper. Was Bellingham acting out of politics or out of a private obsession dressed up as justice? Quick recap. Here's what we know so far, and the one detail that still doesn't fit. They focus on the weapon, because it's easy to point at steel. But the harder question is access. Who gave him a path to the target that day without raising alarms? Now forget the attacker's face, follow the paperwork, because the first official notes lock in a story before the blood is even dry, and one line is missing. Back in London, Bellingham turns his life into paperwork. He petitions, he submits claims, he asks to be heard, he looks for the right office, the right official, the right man who can make his case real. But the government has its own machinery, its own pace, its own indifference. He is passed along, he is told no. Or worse, he is told to wait. To a man like Bellingham, waiting feels like mockery, like being jailed again. He begins to narrow his focus, not on the system. On a person, he decides that the state has a face, and if the face will not listen, then the face will pay. This is where history often tricks us. We want assassins to be grand, to have manifestos, to have comrades, to have a cause that fits neatly into a textbook, but many assassins are small storms. They circle one idea until it is all they can see. Bellingham buys pistols. He practices. He chooses a place where he can get close. He chooses the House of Commons. And once he makes that choice, the clock starts. But here is what still feels unreal. Security is thin. Members of Parliament do not move through metal detectors. The building is not sealed like a modern fortress. It is a working space, crowded, porous, human. A determined man can blend in, and Bellingham does. So when he steps into that corridor on May 11th, the question is not only why, it is how. How did a man with a grievance walk into the heart of British power carrying death? Witnesses describe the moment differently, and those differences matter, because one version suggests panic, and another suggests planning. So which witness is protecting themselves, and what are they leaving out? Switch scenes. Outside the courtroom, there's a quiet moment earlier that day that only matters after the killing. And it involves someone who wasn't supposed to be there. The day of the shooting does not begin with thunder. It begins with routine. Bellingham leaves his lodgings dressed like a man with business. No costume, no disguise. He looks like someone who belongs in London's streets. He carries his weapons in a way that keeps them hidden but ready. At Westminster, the air is thick with people and talk. Politics is still physical then. You crowd into rooms. You stand close, you feel breath. Bellingham waits. He does not push his way into the chamber. He chooses the corridor where members pass. A choke point. A place where a target cannot help but be near. Perceval emerges. There is no great escort, no wall of guards. A few men around him, yes, but not enough to stop a pistol at arm's length. Bellingham steps forward. He raises the gun. The shot. The collapse. Perceval is found loaded. But this was a plan with layers. As people seize him, Bellingham does not plead. He does not fight. He does not beg for mercy. He says calmly that he has done his duty. Duty. That word is like a key turned in a lock because it suggests a mind that has rewritten reality. If murder is duty, then what is justice? And if Bellingham believes he is the injured party, who does he believe will agree with him? Quick recap. Here's what we know so far, and the one detail that still doesn't fit. The victim wasn't just a man in a court. He represented a decision, a policy, a side. If the motive was political, why choose the Old Bailey, and what message was the killer trying to send to the state? Let's rewind 30 seconds, because the decisive moment isn't the strike, it's the hesitation right before it, and we still don't know why it happened. In the hours after the assassination, London becomes a city of rumor. News travels by mouth, by print, by frantic messengers. People gather outside newspaper offices. They gather in taverns. They gather in the street. Some are genuinely shocked. Some are quietly pleased. The government feels the tremor, not just grief, fear. If a prime minister can be shot inside Parliament, then no one is untouchable. Bellingham is questioned. They look for accomplices. They look for a network. Bellingham is questioned. They look for a network, but the trail keeps returning to the same place. Him, his papers, his story of Russia, his sense of abandonment. The officials who dismissed him now find themselves in a new kind of spotlight. Did they ignore warning signs? Did they fail to act on a dangerous obsession? Or was there nothing to see until the pistol was raised? Meanwhile, Perceval's family is left in a kind of stunned poverty of feeling. Public mourning is loud. Private loss is silent. And a new prime minister must be found, because government does not pause for funerals. The machine keeps moving. But in the middle of all that, one building becomes the stage for what everyone wants next. Not just punishment. An explanation. The Old Bailey, so the question shifts. When Bellingham stands in court, will he reveal a larger plot? Or only the lonely logic of his own mind? Investigators move fast, almost too fast, and within hours the story starts to harden into something official. What did they decide before they finished asking questions? The Old Bailey is not just a courthouse, it is theatre with consequences. The room is built for judgment. High benches, hard angles, the sense that the law is something above you, not around you. Crowds press in. People want to see the man who shot the Prime Minister. They want to see if he looks like a monster. He does not. He looks ordinary. That, more than anything, unsettles. The trial moves fast, shockingly fast. There is urgency, a need to show the nation that the state is not paralyzed. That order still holds. Witnesses describe the corridor. The shots. The immediate capture. There is little doubt about the act, so the battlefield becomes the mind. Is Bellingham saying, in this era, insanity is a narrow door? You do not walk through it just because you are angry or irrational or obsessed. The court listens to accounts of his grievance, his repeated petitions, his conviction that he was owed, but conviction is not the same as madness. Not in law. Bellingham speaks for himself with chilling clarity. He does not deny the shooting. He argues for justification. He insists the government refused him justice. He insists he had no other remedy. It is the voice of a man who believes he is in the right room, making the right argument. And the court, in effect, must decide whether this is delusion or defiance. If he is defiant, he dies. If he is defiant, he dies. If he is deluded, the whole case becomes harder, because then the assassination is not a political act at all. It is a failure to recognize a broken mind. So what does the jury see when they look at him? A monster, or a man who seems far too sure of himself to be called insane? Quick recap. Here's what we know so far, and the one detail that still doesn't fit. Everyone asks what the attacker wanted, but the more dangerous question is what he knew. Who had he met? What had he been told? And why did he been told, and why did he believe this would work? Here's the twist in perspective. The most important witness might not be a person at all, because the building's movements were logged and one record doesn't match the testimony. There is a cold efficiency to the prosecution. They do not need to prove a complex conspiracy. They need to prove a single moment. The pistol, the aim, the shot, the death. And they have witnesses. They have the weapons. They have Bellingham's own admissions. The defense reaches for the only ground left, mental state. Friends and acquaintances are brought forward to describe his behavior, his fixations, his inability to let the grievance go. But the court is skeptical. This is not a time that easily makes room for psychological complexity, not in the way we would now. To many in that courtroom, a man can be obsessed and still responsible. A man can be furious and still guilty. Bellingham's composure works against him. He does not rant. He does not break down. He appears controlled. And yet, there is a crack in the logic, because he seems to believe truly that killing Perceval is a rational step inside a dispute. He speaks of himself as if he is enforcing a contract, and the question hangs in the air. If he is sane, then the state has been penetrated by a sane man with a plan. If he is insane, then the state has been penetrated by a man whose danger should have been obvious to someone. Either way, someone failed. The jury withdraws. It does not take long. They return, guilty. And now there is only one question left. If the law is about justice, what does justice look like for a man who insists, to the end, that he did nothing wrong? Security insists the protocols were followed, yet the outcome says otherwise. So which safeguard failed? Metal, manpower, or someone's judgment at the worst possible moment? Stop thinking like a crime story and think like a political problem. Because if the target was symbolic, the killer didn't just want a death, he wanted a reaction. And he got one immediately. The sentence is death. There is no surprise in the courtroom, only a grim settling. Outside, the city absorbs it like it absorbs everything, with noise, with gossip, with an edge of appetite. Execution is still public, still a spectacle, still a lesson. Bellingham is taken to Newgate. He waits, and he continues, even then, to frame himself as a wronged man. He writes, he argues, he returns to the same central claim. The government owed him redress. The government refused. So he acted. It is a kind of moral algebra, a man trying to balance an account with blood. When the day comes, the crowd comes too. Some come to jeer. Some come to watch history close its mouth around a man. Some come because the execution of an assassin feels, to them, like the restoration of order. Bellingham is brought out. He shows little emotion. He dies quickly. And the government can say the matter is settled. But it is not, because Perceval's death has already raised questions that do not fit into a verdict. Security at Westminster. The treatment of petitioners. The responsibility of officials who deal with grievance. And deeper than that, the uncomfortable thought, a single man with no party behind him, changed the nation's course for a moment. So here is what remains after the hanging. When the crowd goes home and the papers are folded, what does Britain do with the fact that its Prime Minister was killed by a man who believed the law had failed him? In the aftermath, Parliament does what institutions always do after a shock. It tightens. It looks for ways to prevent repetition. But change is slow and habits are stubborn. Westminster is still a place where access can be gained by confidence and close. Perceval's death becomes a warning told in hallways, not just about violence, but about proximity. Power in that corridor was close enough to touch. Politically, the assassination does not unleash revolution. There is no immediate collapse. A new leader is chosen. The war continues. The machinery of the state grinds on. And yet, a subtle shift begins. The idea that grievance can become threat. The idea that a private complaint, ignored long enough, might turn into something public and lethal. People debate whether Bellingham was insane. They debate whether he was evil. They debate whether Perceval deserved such hatred. Even the public reaction becomes part of the story, because some responses reveal an unsettling truth. When a leader is unpopular, there are always those who can imagine his death as relief. So the assassination becomes a mirror, not just of one man's obsession, but of a country under strain. And the Old Bailey record, the witness statements, the memory of that corridor, begin to take on a life beyond the event. A legend grows. A cautionary tale. But caution only matters if it changes behavior. So the last question is the hardest. Did Britain learn the right lesson from Perceval's murder? Or did it simply punish one man and move on, leaving the same pressures to build again?